Today, we discover one of the most hidden gems in Piemonte in the town of Treviso, which is part of the Barbaresco DOCG. Without further ado, I would like to hand over the virtual microphone to the underground mayor of Alba and winemaker Cesare Barbero and customer relations manager Elena Oberto of Cantina Pertinace.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks to joining us today for our first webinar and at the Cantina Pertinace. So as Nick said before, my name is Cesare Barbero. I'm the director and the manager of the Cantina Pertinace. Elena, she's my colleague, the customer relations manager of our cellar. We are actually in our shopping area, and today we would like to tell you something about our cellar, some quick news about our cellar. And at the end, we're going to do a virtual tasting of a couple of our wines. So where we are, well, we are in Treviso. Treviso is is a small village in Piedmont. So Piedmont is the region on the northwest of Italy, is the region that is in the France border. Inside of this region, in Piedmont, there's a smaller area called Langhe, and exactly in the Langhe is the place where Treviso is located. Langhe are almost famous in the world right now because from the 2014, Langhe is part of the UNESCO area, so World Heritage Site. And this is a UNESCO area especially for the vineyard. So we are so lucky to live in a place that is a World Heritage Site. And the village of Treviso, where we are located, is inside of the Barbaresco area. Barbaresco area, Barbaresco, beside Barolo, is one of the most famous wine produced in Piedmont. The Barbaresco area is made by three villages and a little part of Alba. The three villages are Treviso, Barbaresco, and Neve. I think Treviso is a very, very small village. It's less than 800 people living in Treviso. But it's a very tiny village and very, very beautiful place. So the story of our cellar, why we are here and what we are. So we are a cooperative. Our cellar born in 1973, so we are close to be 50 years old. Born in 1973 by an idea of a man. This man was Mario Barbero, and it was my father. I want to give you just a couple of notices about this man. Mario Barbero was the mayor of Treviso. Was the mayor of Treviso for about 10 years, from 1962 to the 1972. And he was a very creative man. He can't steal without doing nothing. So he had a lot of ideas continuously. And when he decided to stop being mayor, he would like to invest his energy in other project. And for this reason, he found a place, a cellar that has to be closed in Treviso. So he decided to buy the cellar with other 12 friends and founded the Cantina Pertinace. The Cantina Pertinace was at the beginning very, very small. The 12 producer, they decided to, at the beginning, to just vinify Nebbiolo grapes because they had not the capacity to start vinifying all the grapes of all the growers together. So at the beginning only Nebbiolo, but in the year after they were able to add other wines like Dolcetto, Barbera, Nebbiolo, and Arnese in the last 15 years. My father was a really active man, as I told you before. He was really active even in the wine world. because beside the Pertinace cellar, in the 80s, we founded the Distilleria del Barbaresco, where actually we are a partner and where we produce our grappa. Was president of the Consorzio Barolo and Barbaresco, the same time when a great producer like Renato Ratti was the director. And he was even president of a society of producers called Vignaioli Piemontesi. He really loved his wine, his job so much, and he tried, and with a good success, I have to say, to transmit to me his passion. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, he started to take me with him in to follow his job. So especially after the school, I went with him in our farmhouse. I watched him to working with the tractors. I watched him to bottling the wines, and he take me even here in the cellar at the beginning. And at the beginning was a really poor cellar, a really handmade cellar. I remember the night after the harvest when those people, those 12 men, those 12 growers, they stayed together to crush the grapes that they have harvested during the day. They stay until late, so over midnight until 1 o'clock, just to have a chance to continue to stay together and enjoy the company of each other, and to imagine project for the future of our cellar. And exactly this time, when I was so between 7 to 10, 12 years old, I start to have my passion started for this kind of work, this kind of job. I remember when me and the son and the children of some other growers, we came to help bottling, labeling the bottle in the 70s, the late 70s and the early 80s. And although it was really common for that period for the children like me to help the business of the parents in the country and the cellar. So the cellar started in 1973. There are 13 growers at the beginning. Then the cellar grew each year by year, and the market was really generous with us because they recognized immediately the quality of our wines, so we start selling well, especially in Piedmont, in our area, our wines, and we had the chance to grow quite fast. Even our first vintage was 1973. Our first harvest was 1973. But truly, the first label is for us is 1969, because when they bought the cellar, they bought the cellar with some wine inside, and they had some Barbaresco. So the first label, Pertinace label, is 1969, and the first vintage for us is 1973. Actually, we produce, as I told you before, the Barbaresco in the 2 versions, the Classico and some 3 single vineyards, 2 available in the US, and Barbera, Nebbiolo, and Dolcetto. Those are our main wines. But we have even Moscato, we have Ornese, we have blend, Lagherosso, and Montevasti. And about the story of the name Pertinace, Elena, she gonna tell you something about this, because we are located in a place of the village of Treviso called Pertinace, and there's a nice story about the name Pertinace.
Yeah, I mean, Pertinace, as you can see, he was a Roman emperor, and you know, here and in Alba too, is a Roman city, and we are in a Roman area. So, but we got, I mean, it's a place where this emperor was born, and he was born here in 126 AC, and he became an emperor in 193 AC. But there's not a nice story, but the story of this man is, from one side, is very, very nice, because he was a man very, very kind, very polite, with very strong ideals. And we also, our partners have the same characteristic, and that's the reason why they took the name, and they decided to pick the name Pertinace for the winery. They have lots of tenacity. They love the big love for the land that they work. But Pertinace, when he became an emperor, unfortunately, he was an emperor just for 87 days. And the reason why was because he was so kind, and so a man very clear. And the first thing that he said was, "I really want to against corruption." And so he was killed and decapitated just after 87 days, unfortunately. But even though our partners continue to have this nice and strong ideals, there's also a very, very kind of competition between each other, but it's a good kind of competition, of course, because there's a competition every year during the harvest about the price of the grapes. Of course, we pay the grapes based on quality, not on quantity. And they always say to each other, "Okay, I will be the best." No, you will not. So it's always a very fun moment here in the winery, because when they collect the grapes here, there's always a lot of people here eating something together, like some pane bread with salame or something. So it's always a kind of small party, and that's the reason why to celebrate this, and this very strong connection that we have between all the members and all the different families. Every year we do a big party. It's a kind of barbecue party, that is at the beginning of the summer, in June or July. Everybody together. Also, all of the workers and employees are invited, and we join everything together to celebrate life, to celebrate wine, to celebrate everything about Pertinace Winery. So it's very good, and this is also very connected to our traditions, I think.
Yeah, of course. We are over 400 guests during this big party in summer. So it's a really, really huge party. Another skill of our cellar that we would like to underline in this webinar is the tradition. So tradition for us is very, very important. Tradition in the vineyard and tradition in the cellar. Tradition in the vineyard means that we still have hand harvest, and then we continue to keep and to grow the vines in the same way we did 100 years ago. And this is important because is for sure the best way to grow the vineyards in this area. The tradition in the cellar means that we are trying to produce our wine in the same way that was produced when the Barbaresco, especially I'm talking especially from Barbaresco, when the Barbaresco started his life, so 120 years ago around. Does it mean that we're doing very long fermentation and maceration? And this is important, especially for a wine like the Nebbiolo. We think that maceration, long time of maceration, is really important for the quality of the wine. And the biggest skill for the traditional way of producing our wine is the type of aging the wine. So we age our wines exclusively in big cask of Slavonian. Fortunately, we can show you the Slavonian right now, because if you're watching the beautiful face of Nick, you can see the body just back to Nick. And so those are the skills that we would like to underline for you. Now we can do a tasting with Elena, with a couple of wines. Today we have Barbera and Nebbiolo.
Yes, today we want to be focused on those two wines, Barbera d'Alba and Langhe Nebbiolo. Frexi Nebbiolo today has on the market two different vintages, 2017 and 2018. So we start with Barbera. Barbera is a wine very, I can say, very food friendly and very gastronomic wine. Barbera is 100% Barbera and is coming from 4 different villages. Welcome. It's coming from Magliano Alfieri, from Treviso, from Alba, and from Neville. This grape is, when we talk about Barbera grape, is a grape very vigorous that produces lots of grapes, and main characteristic is always the acidity. But in order to better control this acidity and to have a very interesting wine, but a little bit more soft, we always pick the grapes after the Nebbiolo. So like some overripe, to have some overripeness in the grapes, to have lots of nice juiciness and complexity in the wine. Is a wine that I told you is coming from different towns, but the soil here is coming from the Tortoniano. So from 12 to 7 millions of years ago, to have just to have an idea. Tortoniano, it means there is a soil rich in limestone, especially, and there's also some sand, depending on where you are located, so where the vineyards are located. This wine is a wine that has a very intense bouquet. You have some lovely black fruits, like some plums, nice juiciness, but you have also a very nice spiciness on the back, some pink pepper or white pepper. In the mouth is like velvet, so it's like embracing your mouth, and you can get a little bit of acidity just on the back when you swallow, and that's the reason why it's a very food-friendly wine. Acidity is always pairing very well with food, especially with our clean ravioli or our tallarines or very local food, or why not with the classic Sunday roast or some white grilled cheese, something like that. My personal suggestion is to enjoy this wine with some spicy food, because it's more international, but very interesting to try. Then we switch to our Langhe Nebbiolo. Langhe Nebbiolo, of course, as a varietal, is more noble because it's the same varietal where also the Barbaresco is coming from. So we're talking about the same grape, but the expression is completely different compared to the Barbaresco. When we produce our Langhe Nebbiolo, what we are trying to do is to express the other side of the Nebbiolo grape. Langhe Nebbiolo could be considered as the Barbaresco younger brother. So we try to express the side more fresh, fruity, easy drinking, and so you can find the more freshness also in the bouquet. There's always a very nice flowery hints in a Nebbiolo-based wines. In this wine especially, you have some rose hip and some red fruits on the fruity notes. Just a hint of spiciness maybe on the back, but less than a Barbera. And about the taste, or in the mouth, you have tannins, of course, because the main characteristic in a Nebbiolo-based wines are always tannins. Softer tannins comparing the Barbaresco tannins, because it's aged just up 9 to 12 months in Slavonian oak cask. I forgot to tell you, Barbera is aged 9 months in big casks, always a Slavonian oak, so different, just a little bit less. This wine is also very nice to enjoy with food, but it's always calling something a little bit richer, maybe like some, I don't know, some meat, like some red meat. It's very interesting also with some medium-aged cheese. So it has more body, and so it's requiring always something stronger to match with. But it's very, very nice to enjoy. When we are talking about the aging potential of both of those wines, we are talking about around 10 years for Barbera, and a little bit more for the Langhe Nebbiolo, up to 12, 15 years. But of course, those are wines that we are thinking to drink while we are waiting for a Barbaresco. That is always a wine to wait. So very a little bit more easier, maybe.
Yeah, more approachable.
More approachable.
Fantastic. Well, Cesare and Elena, I just want to thank you so much for an amazing insights about the Cantina Pertinace. And moving forward to the next, we'd like to begin with some questions and answers. We received some questions from our team, so we'll go ahead and begin with the questions.
Already.
Very good. Yeah, we seem to hear you a little better on this side, so we're going to have Cesare move over. Okay, question number 1, Cesare.
Yeah.
Do you oversee the growers and give the growers suggestions or provide advice on how to grow the grapes to the farmers?
Yeah, actually, we try to give some suggestion to them, and we hired an agronomic a few years ago that they follow all the vineyards of the growers.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's gonna be helpful to have a more consistent quality in the grapes.
Great. Second question, do you hold the farmers accountable for their quality being brought in? I heard you mention that you pay based on quality, not on quantity. So that was an interesting statement that we can all use in the field. Obviously you reject grapes as well, correct?
Yeah, we pay in basis of the quality. When the growers, they take the grapes to the cellar, or a winemaker, me and the other guy, we check the quality of the grapes in sugar, in looking, and in healthy. And we give a score that is gonna be used when it's time to pay the grapes. We reject, a couple of times we reject some grapes that when they weren't good enough for our quality, or we can declass to a lower level wine if they are not good enough.
So another question that we had is, before the cooperative, who were the farmers selling the fruit to?
So the farmer, they sell the grapes on the market. So and this is the reason because the cooperative born almost 50 years ago, because they was hard to sell the grapes on the market, and always for very cheap prices. So they cannot survive only with the average of the market in the 70s. So they decided to found the cellar. One of the reasons was this reason.
Okay.
At the moment, they cannot sell on the market anymore. All the growers, they have to sell the wine the grapes to the cellar.
Okay, that actually answers one of our next questions, so that's good. Let's switch gears, and can you explain a little bit the differences between Marcarini and Nervo? The soils, the crew. I mean, can you just tell us a little bit about each vineyard?
Yeah. So Marcarini, I start with Marcarini, is the more approachable of the two wines. Marcarini is a southwest-faced vineyard on the hill of Treso. The difference is the soil of the Marcarini is with less limestone and calcare than the soil of the Nervo. It has more stone and a little more sandy. And for this reason, usually the Marcarini Barbaresco, it looks a little more lighter, more elegant, and more approachable. Otherwise, the Barbaresco Nervo, so in the soil of the Barbaresco Nervo, is deeper and with more limestone and especially blue marl that gives more powerful on the grapes and in the wine. So usually Marcarini is more elegant, Nervo is more masculine, more powerful.
Oh, great, great. Next question. How many different farmers are working in each of the cru wines?
There's 2 farmers in each single vineyard that we produce. Marcarini, there are 2, and Nervo, there are 2. But truly, they come from the same family. So the 2 of the Marcarini are brothers, 2 brothers, and the 2 of the Nervo are cousins, son of 2 brothers. They were the founder of the co-op.
Okay. 9:30. We actually just reached our 30-minute allotment for this webinar, but we do have some more questions. So if time allows you, please stay with us. If not, thank you very much for joining. But we're going to continue with about 5 more questions. So can you explain the laws regarding Barolo production since you are located in the Barbaresco area?
Yeah. So we have Barolo. We are not allowed to produce Barolo in our area, and so our cellar is not allowed to produce Barolo. So we have a partnership with a cellar in Barolo area, and we take Barolo from them, and they take Barbaresco from us. So it's a kind of mutual help between the 2 cellars, but. For both of us, they check we check the quality each other, so we can follow the Barolo in the cellar, and they can follow the Barbaresco in our cellar.
Okay.
It's not a fire department entering, sorry. Wonderful.
That's what you get when we do a live broadcast, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Probably we just lost the container of all of them.
Oh no, you should answer it. Well, call them back. Do you have caller ID? What were the first commercial vintages of the Pertinace Cru bottlings?
If I remember well, was in the 78. And at that time we produced 4 single vineyards, Marcarini, Nervo, Castellizzano, and Casotto.
Fantastic.
Anyway, 1978.
Some producers look to macerate their top wines around 40 days, others around 20. Where does Pertinace fit?
We, from the 2013, we start again to have a longer maceration. Actually, if the harvest is good, we can join even 60 days of maceration. So we are gonna close to Christmas, the maceration, and just a few days before Christmas. So our style is very long maceration right now.
Very long.
Over 40 days.
Okay, and our final question. How does Nebbiolo react being planted on hillsides or the top of the hill in comparison to the base of the hills? Is this taken into consideration when producing top bottlings?
So when we talk about Nebbiolo, we think about always Barbaresco. The rules of the Barbaresco say that it's not allowed to plant Nebbiolo for Barbaresco at the foot of the hills, so in the valley, and in the not good faced vineyard. So usually the best vineyards of Nebbiolo are in the average altitude, not on top, because the Nebbiolo vines, they are very delicate, and they can the wind can not be healthy for the Nebbiolo vines. So the best are in the middle. So not in the valley, not in the top.
Great. Well, Cesare and Elena, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us and for all of the insights on Cantina Pertinace. If we do receive any more questions via email, we'll forward it to you and then we'll share it with our team. But I'm going to allow you to go ahead and close.
Okay. Thank you very much to having us at this webinar. Thank you to Frazione Vianetto to support us in the US. It's a great working with you. And you know, and I would like everybody knows that we were the first seller imported by Vianetto outside the Vianetto wines. We worked with Vianetto from 2004 when we start calling our seller Pertinace. Before was another name, Cantina Vignaioli. Now Pertinace is just for the Vianetto. And many greetings, good Easter to everybody.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
We're
Happy
waiting
Easter
for
to you.
you. Please come
And
here.
yeah, you're gonna be more than welcome if you want to come to visiting us. It will be great for us to have you here.
Thank you so much for your time. And thank you everyone for attending the Pertinace webinar. Ciao, buona Pasqua.
Thank you to you to organize everything.
Ciao,
Buona
grazie.
Pasqua. Happy
Ciao,
Easter.
ciao. Un abbraccio,
Ciao.
grazie.